Welcome. As we're waiting for everyone to arrive, I wanted to say hi and that tonight I'm hoping to have a little bit of fun as well as being informative. So if you could please jump on chat and just confirm that you can hear and see me okay. Just checking again as people are coming on board, can you please type in chat and confirm that you can hear and see me? So thank you, Suzanne. Okay, so tonight, as we're going along, feel free to type in chat and let me know if you have any questions come up. I also want to let you know that there are prizes for participating, which I will give out at the end. And also, can you let me know where you're coming from? I'm here in Sydney, Australia tonight, but I know last week we had people from Ireland, from New Zealand, from different parts of Australia. It's just really interesting to see where everyone's from. So anyway, let's get started. Oh, we have someone from England tonight. Fantastic. All right, so tonight we are discussing midlife fatigue. So I'm Jennifer Harrington. Um, Sorry, I have just moved my screen and I cannot see anything. Here we go. Yes, so hello, I'm Jennifer Harrington. What most people know about me is that I'm a naturopath with over 20 years of clinical experience. I'm an author, podcaster, and practitioner. But what you probably don't know about me is that perimenopause kicked my butt. I was mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. And fatigue is a symptom. It's not a disease, but it can be a sign of something more serious going on. In my particular case, it was flooding periods. I lost more than half of my blood supply. As a single mum, my daughter became my carer and I struggled to function. Luckily, it was during COVID lockdown and I really didn't have much to do. But unluckily, it was during lockdown as I couldn't get the help I needed either. Eventually, I ended up in the ER room and needed not one, but two blood transfusions plus an iron infusion. My surgery was upgraded from elective to essential, which in Australia during the lockdown meant it could actually happen. For me, it wasn't just the fatigue, it was also the added burden I had placed on my teenage daughter. She now had to care for me and run the household. Fatigue doesn't usually occur by itself, it likes company. In my case, I couldn't concentrate. I was dizzy. I was short of breath. I had muscle pain, brain fog, palpitations, angina, and more. I am so grateful to tell you that my surgery was a success. My fatigue resolved once I stopped hemorrhaging, and my daughter's burden was removed so I could resume my daily tasks. Since then, I've discovered 15 reasons why midlife women feel so fatigued. And that's what we are going to be covering tonight. So I wanted to start with a poll so I can get to know a little bit more about you. I will just launch this. So there are only three questions. And the first one is just how severe is your fatigue? Mild, moderate, or intense? What accompanying symptoms are you experiencing with your fatigue? And we've got 10 different options there. I do know there are more than 10 different things that can occur with fatigue, but Zoom only lets me ask 10. So that's where I started. And then also, how long has it been an issue? Like in my case, it was under 12 months. It was done and dusted, but I've certainly met women that have struggled much longer than that. All right, we'll just give everyone a little bit longer. What I am going to do is I will give you some time. I'm going to continue and we will come back to the poll. So, what is fatigue? It is a feeling of constant tiredness or weakness. It can be mental, physical, or both. Although fatigue is constant, it can ebb and flow, giving you good days and bad days. But as a general rule, it interferes with your ability to perform day to day tasks. Fatigue is a symptom, it's not a disease itself, but it can be an indication that something more serious may be going on. To reduce the sensation of fatigue, you first need to consider what your personal underlying cause or causes are and correct these first. So let's have a look at some of the common causes of midlife fatigue. And here we have poor mitochondrial function, impaired cellular health, hormonal changes, adrenal dysfunction, thyroid dysfunction, poor sleep, blood sugar imbalances, chronic inflammation, digestive issues, toxicity and impaired liver function, cardiovascular issues, respiratory weakness, immune issues, mood disorders, and nutrient deficiencies. So, if you want to take any photos or screenshots tonight, this would be one that I would recommend that you capture. It's also what we're going to be going through tonight. So, I'm going to be running through all of these common causes so that hopefully you can identify yourself and think, this could potentially be me. And heads up, it's normally not one. It's normally multiple reasons why you're feeling fatigued. But the good news is not all of it is going to be relevant to everyone. So don't think it's all going to be the case. So my aim for this workshop is to identify some low-hanging fruit. And you can make some changes there first. And if it resolves your fatigue, fantastic. But if it doesn't, you have an understanding of what else could be driving the sensation and help direct you to where you want to go next. So, fatigue can happen at any stage of life, but it's really common issue at midlife with changing hormonal levels and an increased demands. The Evernow study, which is the largest study of menopausal women, there are over 100,000 women, and this is another one to screen capture if you'd like to do so tonight. And they found that 81.5% of midlife women experience fatigue. That is too high. Um, and as we know, fatigue doesn't occur by itself. It likes company. And these are some of the accompanying symptoms. We've got things like poor motivation, inability to concentrate, impaired decision making, reduced memory and cognitive abilities, poor coordination, sleeplessness, irritable moods, headaches, muscle pain, dizziness, nausea, appetite changes, and the list goes on. So let's now go back and have a look at your poll and let's just see what's going on for everyone out there. All right, so the majority of you said that it's only a mild fatigue, which is good to know. With the accompanying symptoms, the most common ones were mood changes, and that makes sense. You're tired, you're more irritable, memory, and for most of you, it was more a medium term issue than a long term issue. So it's good to know. So as we're going through, if I see things that also impact memory, or if I see things that also impact moods, I'm going to make sure that I point them out. So let's get started. We're going to start with the mitochondria. And this is really how the body creates energy, but I want to try to explain it without getting too sciencey. So the Krebs cycle is a metabolic pathway that occurs from within the mitochondria. This converts nutrient molecules from food into energy. Do you remember the good old mitochondria from high school biology? Think of it as the powerhouse of the cell. Each cell contains in between 500 and 5,000 mitochondria. And this is where your main form of energy, your adenosine triphosphate or ATP, is made. The Krebs cycle requires many nutrients to produce ATP. Things like vitamin B1, B2, B3, B5, and lipoic acid. There are also additional nutrients that are needed as cofactors required for the production of ATP, and they also help promote better functioning of the mitochondria in general. And these include CoQ10, vitamin A, B6, B9, B12, C, D, E, certain amino acids, your fish oils, your electrolytes, and we've got some other minerals there. So you can see that nutritional deficiencies can really slow down the production of ATP and leave you feeling exhausted. But don't see this as a shopping list for supplements. That's not my goal for tonight. I certainly don't want you going out and buying all the nutrients I'm going to mention because we're going to be discussing over 20 tonight. So that's certainly not my goal. It's more just to show you just how important good nutrition is. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is cellular health. So every cell in your body, and there are about 37 trillion cells, and every cell contains a cellular membrane. And within the cell, you have different organelles, such as mitochondria, which we just discussed. And these organelles also have cellular membranes. I'm just going to flip back to the picture of the mitochondria for a moment, because what you can see here is the mitochondria actually has two cellular membranes, the inner and the outer membrane, making cellular health doubly important for the health of your powerhouse mitochondrial cells. Think of cellular membranes as cellular brains, as they can, Think of cellular membranes as cellular brains, as they control a lot of what is happening for the cell or the organelle. They allow nutrients in and toxins out. They are also a storehouse for fuel. They provide structure and a communication channel. And you must have properly functioning cellular membranes if you want healthy cells or organelles. Within your cellular membrane is a phospholipid bilayer. In technical terms, phospholipids are a class of lipids whose molecules has a water-loving head containing a phosphate group, and the phosphate group can be choline, serine, inositol, and this in the picture is the yellow circles. And those are attached to two water-fearing tails derived from fatty acids, which is the blue. And these tails typically contain an omega-3 molecule, either an EPA or a DHA. And it's these change modifiers that give phospholipids different properties, preferred locations, and roles within the cell. Data suggests that phospholipid reduction starts at the age of 20. So by midlife, your cells might be in need of a top-up. Certain genes play a role here. An important one to mention is PEMT, P-E-M-T. If you have this polymorphism, it means you may experience difficulty in creating phosphatidylcholine. Phosphatidylcholine is the most abundant phospholipid. It's essential for cellular membrane integrity and for membrane function. Now, for all of those women who wrote accompanying brain symptoms, such as concentration or memory, there is a phospholipid called phospholipid serine, and this has an affinity for brain cells. So that's something for you to consider. And I'm certainly not recommending you go out and buy it. It's just something that I want you to have an awareness of so that you know that it exists. So if you are working with a healthcare provider, you can suggest it. Would phosphatidylserine be a possible supplement for me to consider, specifically for my cognitive function, my memory, can also work for moods. So that is cellular membranes. When we look at hormonal change, let me just talk to you about this slide because we have a few things going on here. So, the butterfly shaped organ is actually your thyroid. Then we have the female reproductive system with the uterus, fallopian tube, and the ovaries. And the third image here is your kidneys or your renals. And what's above them is the little walnut gland, which is your adrenals or your adrenals. So I just thought I'd let you know what you're looking at. So perimenopause is really when your ovaries start preparing for retirement. This is a time of change. And during this time, your level of ovarian hormones, such as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, also change. As these hormones dance with other hormones, a change here can have a snowball effect on all other hormones. You see, no hormone works in isolation. The main hormones impacted here are the adrenals and the thyroid, hence why they're on the slide. But this is actually a three-way street where changes in either ovarian, adrenal, or thyroid hormones interacts and complicates production and usage of the other hormones. The adrenal glands are often linked with stress as they produce your stress hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. These hormones are needed for your fight or flight response. They also produce cortisol, which controls your sleep and wake circadian rhythm, which is also a part of the stress response. Then there is aldosterone, which plays a major role in regulating your electrolytes, your pH balance, and blood pressure. Have you noticed your blood pressure increases with stress? It can also increase due to lowered estrogen levels, impacting on your aldosterone response. Finally, we have the adrenal androgens such as DHEA. These are precursor substances for the production of testosterone and estrogens after your ovaries have retired. When your adrenal glands aren't optimally working, you are easily stressed. Sleep becomes a problem. Add to this an electrolyte imbalance, and you get to experience a sensation of fatigue. And this is really where stress management techniques, electrolyte replenishment, and adrenal nutrients and herbal tonics make a world of difference. But more on that later on. So let's talk about your thyroid. So your thyroid gland regulates the body's metabolic rate. Your metabolic rate refers to the amount of energy your body needs to maintain itself. I think of the thyroid gland as a spark plug. It ignites your body to produce energy. Without a well-tuned thyroid, you will definitely experience changes in your energy levels. So thyroid dysfunction is unfortunately very common in midlife women. Roughly 1 in 12 perimenopausal women have issues here, and this increases to 1 in 6 for postmenopausal women. When it comes to thyroid health, this is an area I would encourage a thorough testing. And if your results indicate an issue, please work one-on-one with a healthcare provider to help you optimize its function. So with sleep, let's just go back up to the Evernow study for a moment. So we can see here that sleep disruption was the second most common symptom, with 78.6% of women experiencing issues here. Having lower levels of estrogen and progesterone is linked with reduced melatonin levels and poorer sleep. Melatonin is a part of your circadian cycle. Cortisol is the other part of the equation. Cortisol is your arousal or awake hormone. It should peak around 7 a.m. and drop by 7 p.m. Melatonin works in reverse. It rises as the sun goes down and it lowers as the sun rises. A problem with one part of this cycle can impact the other. Many women at this stage of life find they have reduced total sleep time, reduced deep sleep, and increased amount of time taken to get to sleep. Hormonal change can also impact night sweats. and increase the total number of sleep interruptions experienced throughout the night. Please note, not all women experience sleep disturbances at midnight. It is not an inevitable part of life. Often women find that sleep was something that came easily to them before, but now it's something they have to work for. There are so many dietary and lifestyle factors that play significant roles in improving sleep. Testing for sleep apnea is also something I highly recommend for all women experiencing fatigue. Let's move on to blood sugar. So, with the reduction of estrogen also comes an increased risk of blood sugar irregularities and type 2 diabetes. Unfortunately, 1 in 3 women postmenopausally will develop type 2 diabetes, as estrogen supports the pathways that regulate insulin and blood sugar levels. Therefore, this function automatically diminishes as the hormone levels drop. As estrogen isn't the only culprit here, cortisol also plays a significant role. As a part of the stress response, cortisol releases stored sugars into the body to fuel the body to run from a stressor. But if we don't run, don't burn off this extra sugar, we end up with persistent high blood sugar, which can lead into the development of type 2 diabetes. Remember when we're talking about the Krebs cycle, using nutrient molecules from food to produce ATP energy. When sugar enters the cell, it's one of the main nutrient molecules. When we have low sugar, our cell is at a substrate to produce ATP energy, and we feel tired, hungry, irritable, and weak. When our blood sugar levels are persistently high, our body either stops producing or stops responding to insulin. It's insulin's job to open the cell door so sugar can enter. When insulin isn't there or the cell isn't responding to it, the cell is once again out of fuel. Comprehensive blood sugar and insulin testing is certainly something I recommend for all midlife women. Chronic inflammation. A common complaint during the menopausal transition is increased inflammation and pain. In the Evernow study, 63.6% of women, let's just go back up and have another look. Here we go, joint and muscle discomfort, 63.6%. It is one of the top 10 symptoms. These women are noticing the reduced anti-inflammatory effects of estrogen and progesterone as these hormones decline. The good news is we have plenty of anti-inflammatories at our disposal. We have thermotherapy, which is the application of heat or cold. We have fire extinguishing herbs like fish oils, and we have things like turmeric. Moving on to digestion. As we age, our production of digestive enzymes and acids reduce. This means our ability to digest food reduces, and we may not be able to extract the nutrients from our food as efficiently as before, increasing our risk of nutritional deficiencies. Gut bacteria imbalances are also linked with fatigue. All health begins in the gut, so if it's not functioning well, you won't either. Looking at the liver, with the reduction of estrogen comes changes in the liver itself. Data has suggested that the liver starts to reduce at about 1% a year starting in perimenopause. This doesn't surprise me when you consider that what the liver has had to process over a lifetime. The average woman is exposed to hundreds of chemicals every day. She may also be carrying around toxic metal burden from previous exposures. She may be living in a water-damaged home. She may be drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, living in a busy city with poor air quality. I think we can all agree our poor liver has had a busy life, and fatigue is just one sign that it may be overwhelmed or performing sluggishly. All right, cardiovascular. So estrogen plays a protective role in the health of our heart and cardiovascular system. As our estrogen levels start to decline, our risk of cardiovascular complications increases. The job of the cardiovascular system is to transport oxygen, nutrients, and hormones around your body while removing waste products. Fatigue can be a sign of cardiovascular issues as less blood and nourishment are circulating throughout the body. It can also occur as waste products aren't being adequately removed. It's interesting to note that the heart contains the largest concentration of mitochondria, at around 5,000 mitochondria per serve. So, nutrients that are needed for mitochondrial health also greatly benefit the heart. It's two birds with one stone. By increasing the health of the powerhouses, you improve the health of your heart and the ability of the cardiovascular system to supply the goods. The respiratory system. The role of the respiratory system is to provide oxygen for blood and to remove carbon dioxide. As we approach menopause, our progesterone levels are the first hormone to reduce. Progesterone plays a role as a respiratory stimulant. Respiratory is at its highest during pregnancy. When women are pregnant, their blood supply doubles, so more oxygen is required to oxygenate the blood, and progesterone promotes increased respiration, which means that as our progesterone levels reduce, some menopausal women experience more respiratory system and have lower lung function. Shortness of breath is one of the lesser common symptoms of menopause, and breathing exercises may help improve lung function. Immune. Acute infections do make you feel tired, but this is short-lived, and your energy should return to normal afterwards. Chronic viral infections are different. It is thought that 95% of the population have been exposed to one of the herpes family of viruses, and this includes things like Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, varicocele-virus. These viruses lay dormant in the body until an opportunity to reactivate occurs. Unfortunately, hormonal change with menopause is one such opportunity. Some women are experiencing viral flares and mistaking this for menopausal symptoms. Chronic viral flares can cause fatigue, achy joints, night sweats, headaches, digestive issues, behavioral changes, mood changes, nerve pain, burning sensation, rashes, itches. In this case, you're better to work on reducing your viral load and improving your immunity rather than playing around with your hormones. Fatigue can also be a sign of an autoimmune condition. Mood disorders. Bad thoughts can pull us down and drag our energy levels down with it. It is thought that over 90% of women with mood disorders experience fatigue at the same time. It may be due to changing your sleeping habits, as both insomnia and oversleeping are common with mood disorders. It may be because your eating habits have changed, with many choosing comfort foods at this time. It may be due to the change in exercise routine, or even just a lack of joy or social activities that are dragging you down. Nutrients. So, as a practitioner, I personally always start with nutrients, especially vitamins and minerals, as your body can't produce these, and we need to make sure we have adequate amounts, otherwise, deficiencies occur. Does anyone know my favorite group of minerals for energy production? Yes, it's electrolytes. Well done. So, electrolytes are minerals that carry an electrical charge. This conduction of electricity allows for information to be passed from cell to cell, relaying messages around the body. The body's main form of energy currency is adenosine triphosphate, as we mentioned before. Electrolytes do not directly contain ATP, but they are essential cofactors needed for the production, usage, and recycling of ATP. Aside from fatigue, other signs you may be low on electrolytes include muscle cramps, headaches, confusion, irritability. So, for all of those women that were talking about moods earlier on at the beginning, could be electrolytes with the irritability, palpitations, dizziness, nausea, and poor sleep. Having low electrolytes is really common for women in midlife, especially if you've been experiencing heavy menstrual bleeds or excessive sweating from hot flushes or night sweats, as you are losing these precious minerals in your menstrual sweat, in your menstrual fluid, sorry, or your sweat. Many people know of the link between adrenal dysfunction and fatigue, but have you considered the role of electrolytes, especially sodium, in the role of adrenal issues? Sodium plays a crucial role in the production and regulation of adrenal hormones. Hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and aldosterone. Without adequate sodium levels, these hormones rise, and with this comes a sensation of feeling stressed, frazzled, fatigued, unable to sleep, and the urges to urinate increase, promoting nighttime urination and even more poor sleep. Some of the common health complaints associated with low electrolytes are also linked with low levels of hydration, as two very important electrolytes, sodium and potassium, are needed to regulate how much water is kept in or pushed out of cells. And this helps to maintain hydration and prevents fluid retention. Fluid balancing also plays a really important role in regulating blood pressure. Our nerves use electrolytes to carry electrical impulses or messages around the body. Without adequate levels, our muscles cannot contract or relax properly, and cramps, twitches, or tingling can occur. Have you done or have you heard of my 7-day electrolyte challenge? Many women feel a positive change. It's not a complete change, but it's a movement in the right direction. This is a fabulous starting point while you are considering or investigating other possibilities. You might consider taking some of these ideas and speaking to your doctor, naturopath, or member of your healthcare team. So, one thing that I wanted to say here about electrolytes is that if your doctor has told you to be on a potassium sparing or a low sodium diet, please speak to them before you give this a try. And personally, what I do with my electrolytes is I like to add freshly grated ginger and lemon to flavor it. So I've got my concentrated electrolytes in my water, and then, yeah, I just put some flavoring agents in it. You might be happy to drink the electrolytes in water, but really what I'm looking for is a clean product because we don't want colors or flavors or preservatives in there. We just want the electrolytes. I'm more than happy for you to add a natural flavoring like I do. You can use lemon or lime. I really like ginger, but I'm a bit lazy. I don't freshly grate up my ginger every morning. When I buy my ginger, I get an ice cube and I grate my ginger over the ice cubes. I add a bit of water and I freeze it. So that way, each morning, I just grab out one of my ice cubes and I pop it in. So that's just a tip from me. So let's have a look at some lifestyle considerations to help you improve your energy. And let's start with optimizing your mindset. Low moods cause low energy levels. Start making changes in your outlook on life. Women with positive attitudes who live with passion and purpose live longer, healthier, and more energetic lives. Think about what is dragging you down. What is taking your energy? Is it a bad relationship? Is it a toxic job? Stop giving your energy away. Making hard choices in the short term will help provide you with a new lease of life and abundant energy in the long term. Being in a space of gratitude will help renew your energy levels. Meditation, breathing exercises, and mindfulness are essential habits you must cultivate in order to restore your vitality. Grounding or reconnecting with Mother Earth. This is one that I love. Take off your shoes and walk in nature. So it can be on grass, on dirt, on sand, in water, just preferably not in concrete. Anything that's natural will do. You might need to assess some of your sleep hygiene. You might want to try and get some early morning sunshine. We want to detox from blue light. So you might have a technology detox. You might say, okay, all devices must end by 8 or 9 o'clock at night to give yourself a break. If you really must be on devices at night, blue light, blue locking. So some devices have blue light blocking, things that you can tick. Otherwise, buy a pair of blue blocking glasses. We want to consider caffeine, alcohol, and cigarettes. Is this something that you can reduce? Also, shift work can play a little bit of a role here with energy. When we're looking at nutrition for energy, what we want to do is ditch the sugar and the stimulants. And I understand that you might currently be using these as a crutch to get through the day, but ultimately they have to go. Add to this list the removal of processed, deep fried food like substances. It's time for a fresh approach. Lots of colored vegetables and salads, some fruits, some good quality animal protein, and beneficial fats. It goes without saying that I recommend that these are organic, or at least that the dirty dozen is organic, because quality of food is more important than quantity of food. I want you to chew your food, eat slowly. Then we're going to have a look at some testing. So I've got some GP testing or some general blood testing. In Australia, we can do this through our general practitioner and be put on Medicare. If you're in the UK, as Suzanne was earlier, she might use the NHS. If you're in the US, you may put this on your insurance. So we've got things like thyroid function. I do recommend that you also look at, as well as looking at TSH, which is a brain thyroid hormone, you look at T3, which is your active thyroid hormone, your T4, which is your inactive thyroid hormone. You also want to have a look at reverse T3 and your thyroid antibodies. Next is a complete metabolic panel. So a metabolic panel includes your electrolytes. It includes blood sugar, liver function, kidney function. We're looking at also a full blood count. So this is looking at red blood cells, white blood cells, the type of cells, the size, the shape, that kind of thing. We're looking at inflammatory markers, so things like your CRP and your ESR. It's also a good idea to have a look at a viral panel. See if something like Epstein-Barr virus or varicocele is causing chaos now. Nutrition, I want to have a look at an iron panel with ferritin, vitamin B12, vitamin D. It's also a good idea to look at your blood pressure and to consider whether a sleep apnea test is going to be relevant for you. If you happen to be working with a functional practitioner like myself, or a nutritionist, a herbalist, some chiropractors, functional doctors, these are the kind of tests that we will be looking at. I don't recommend these tests for everyone, but it's something for you to consider. So things like the Dutch test has a look at your hormonal metabolites. It also has a look at your cortisol awakening response. So this is having a look with multiple touch points on what your cortisol is doing. Is it rising when it should be rising? Is it lowering when it should be lowering? It also has a look at your melatonin. Is your melatonin rising when it should be rising? Is your melatonin lowering when it should be lowering? Are you flatlined? Do you have neither of the above? Or are you low when you should be high and high when you should be low and all over the shop? So I really like that test. I sometimes look at a GI map or a microbiome test just to have a look at what's going on. Is there any bacteria overgrowth? So we're worried about worms or protozoa, but also the functioning of the digestive system. whether there's a digestive inflammation, whether you've got enough acids and enzymes. You might want to consider toxicity testing. Have you had issues with metals or chemicals or mold? And look, we all live in a toxic world. Unfortunately, all of us have been exposed to something at some point. I also like the organic acid test, and this is known as OAT for short, if you've heard of that. That's also looking at some neurotransmitters. It's having a look at some mitochondrial markers. It's looking at some nutritional markers. And it's also looking at things like candida imbalances, clostridia, oxalates, and some DNA testing. So, as we mentioned before, some genetic SNPs come in at certain points. Like when we're looking at choline, if you have the PEMP SNP, you may have issues actually producing phosphatidylcholine. And on a personal note, I have that SNP and I have that problem, and I've noticed a massive difference. Personally, I take phosphatidylcholine and I take phosphatidylserine, and they have been wonderful for me, but you are not me. So they might not make a difference at all for you. So that is some testing parameters that I like to have a look at. I also want to let you know that my World Menopause Awareness Month offers are almost over. You just have a few days left to grab yourself a deal. The first one includes all 3 webinar replays, and I'll be giving that away tonight to one lucky viewer. Or you can purchase it for $47, and that way you get to keep a copy of all of these webinars. The second offer is if you book an initial consultation during October, and this is the same price as if you booked an initial consultation last month or next month. But if you book this month, you also get 3 bonuses. So the first bonus is a copy of the replays. The second bonus is a copy of my book, From Invisible to Invincible, The Natural Menopause Revolution. And you also get access to my Healthy Homes for Healthy Hormones program. So I want to thank you for your company tonight. And I want to see if we have any questions. Ah, okay. So Anna was talking about B vitamins, and it just so happens that I have some information about B vitamins because B vitamins have come up multiple times tonight when we're talking about the mitochondria, when we're talking about nutritional deficiencies. So I actually might even have a slide. Look at this. So I have a few slides prepared in case I had extra time. So let's go into the importance of B vitamins. So with B vitamins, you've probably heard me talk about multiple like B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B9, B12, and these all work together as a family. So they're best taken together as a family. Um, as I mentioned at the start, tonight we discussed that we need certain B vitamins to produce ATP energy. So if you are feeling fatigued, a B complex certainly is a consideration. But they do so much more than just help with energy production. They are also needed for digestion, for good nerve health, especially B12 is a big one for that. So if you've got pins and needles or any weird sort of nerve pain, especially in your feet, then B12 might be something to consider. And it was one of the blood tests that I recommended when we looked at the testing section. It's also good for heart health. It's good for moods. It's good for memory. Um, and also for building new cells. Um, are B vitamins safe to take? Yes, I think they are. Most people certainly safely take B vitamins, but I also like to say that all nutrients come with cautions, contraindications, and medical interactions. A warning would probably be that B vitamins do produce yellow urine. That is a product of their metabolism. It is a good thing. We want to see it. It means that your body it is a quality product that your body has been able to use. For some people, it is just a little bit yellow. For other people, it can be fluorescent or bright yellow. So that's a warning for you. With medical interactions, with B vitamins, most of them are linked with B12. And what they do in most cases is they actually reduce the absorption of B12. So it's something that we can, that when you're taking certain medications, you should be co-prescribed B12. And protein pump inhibitors like Nexium are one example. Another one is blood sugar regulators like metformin. And in these cases, you have an increased need for the whole B vitamin family, but specifically for B12. And in these cases, I would just take the medication and the supplements at different times of the day. While we do have a little bit more time, and I did say that I had some other slides just in case, let's also have a chat about vitamin D. So, vitamin D deficiency is also associated with fatigue, hence why we're talking about it tonight. But it's also linked with non-specific symptoms such as pain, headaches, musculoskeletal issues, depression, impaired cognition, weak immunity. Um, so, it is something for women that we're talking about moods and cognition. I would certainly check vitamin D. I just think about sunshine. Like when you're sitting in the sunshine, how happy does, like, it makes me very happy when the sun is out. And that's vitamin D that you're getting in through the sun. So it certainly is linked in with mood regulating and mood enhancing. But yes, some other things, as we mentioned, is also can be energy producing. Do we have any other questions? Iron. Yes, iron. Yes, iron is another one. Definitely, it is a big factor. And it was a huge factor for me in my perimenopausal transition. But the problem that we have with iron is many women in perimenopause have low iron levels, and women in postmenopause can have high iron levels. So it's really about testing to find out what is your individual circumstance and whether it is something that you should be trying to reduce or something that you should be trying to increase. And there are other nutritional cofactors, so things like B12 is really important when we're looking at do we have adequate levels of iron? Can also consider things like copper, vitamin A. Um, but yeah, 100% iron helps with energy production. CoQ10. Yes, absolutely. CoQ10 or ubiquinol is they're probably my top 5 nutrients I think about when I'm thinking about fatigue. I think about electrolytes. I will think about B vitamins. I will think about vitamin D. I think about CoQ10. And the other one, of course, I can't believe I haven't mentioned it already, is magnesium. Magnesium, the master menopause mineral. It certainly does play a role in energy production. It plays a role with helping with the cortisol and melatonin circadian rhythm. So you'll find that it will help to promote a more balanced cortisol response, and it will help you with sleep during the night. Many women also notice they feel the difference in their muscles. It's really good for muscular relaxation. So if you're getting eye twitches, headaches, constipation, magnesium certainly is something that I would consider. Um, yeah, so those top 5 ones again, that was us. Sorry, I probably went through them too fast. Electrolytes, B vitamins, vitamin D, CoQ10, magnesium. Um, but yes, when we go back to the ATP slide at the very, 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 very beginning, you can see that there are so many other nutritional cofactors to consider when we're talking about producing ATP and producing energy. So we've mentioned CoQ10. Vitamin A is something to consider. We've got the B vitamins in there. Vitamin C. Vitamin C is actually really good for stress and adrenal health. Um, Vitamin E is another one we haven't mentioned. I think of vitamin E as the hormone and the heart vitamin. So if we've got better heart health, we've got better circulation of blood flow and oxygenation. That certainly makes sense. But it's also a cofactor in the production of ATP. There's certain amino acids, so we can check that there's an adequate amount of protein in the diet, or we can even consider some of these. So fish oils, there's so many of these we can do with diet. Making sure you've got a good amount of protein, a good amount of beneficial fats, you've got plenty of salads and fruits and vegetables. Goes a long way with making sure that you are nutritionally replete. All right. So we can't finish up without talking about the prize. So the prize tonight is the replay pack. And that goes to, drum roll, please. That's going to go to Anna. So Anna, if I will email you after this and let you and send you a link about your prize. So it's a copy of all three replays. It was the first one, Minerals for Menopause, the second one, Functional Foods for Menopause, and also tonight's Midlife Fatigue. So you've got them so that you can watch whatever time is convenient or rewatch them if you want. Thank you so much for your company. I'm going to stay on the line for the next few minutes. If you have further questions, I'll be happy to answer. And I hope to see some of you in the consultations. And until next time, bye.